am Dr. Katie Novak, and I am here to be your virtual tour guide in unpacking the new MTSS Blueprint. This blueprint will also come with a toolkit with numbers of tools that you can use to help to build your own MTSS system. And this is really helping you unpack the document to understand how it is organized and how it will help you in your school or district to create an MTSS system that works for all of your students. So if you dive into the MTSS Blueprint, hopefully right now you have it either virtually or printed out in front of you with your highlighters ready, you will notice that there are multiple sections. Before we dive into those sections, first we want to talk about why MTSS. Now, the first video in this series talks about the importance of building multi-tiered systems, but on page 2 of the MTSS Blueprint, you'll also see why it's so critical here in Massachusetts. Because although many of our students do very well, and we are actually nation's best, we have many students who are not making the same outcomes as their peers. This is not because they can't or don't want to learn. We have to recognize that many of our schools and districts may not be organized yet to meet the needs of all of our learners. And this is where MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support, come in. So section 1 unpacks what is a multi-tiered system and how it is different from RTI. Many of you may be familiar with response to intervention and how we had to provide screening for all students in order to ensure that they got what they needed to make progress. But MTSS builds on best practices in RTI and takes this a step further by talking about what is actually needed in a system in order to keep a robust intervention system for students. So we have to believe in a multi-tiered system that all students are truly capable of grade level learning when they have support. We also are really focused on this concept of being proactive and preventing failure as opposed to responding to it. We focus on evidence-based practices, and also we're very focused on data-based decision-making. And then lastly, there's an acknowledgement that the degree of support given to students is truly based on their needs and is really focused on all stakeholder collaboration. When you're diving into section 2, you'll notice that the two foundational frameworks of this blueprint are universal design for learning and a focus on equitable access. We truly believe in Massachusetts that all students should receive Tier 1 instruction and have equitable access to universally designed academic, behavioral, and social-emotional curriculum and instruction with their peers. It is our duty to try to create environments that are the least restrictive environments for all students. And so understanding those frameworks will be important for the development of a system that works for you. Section 3 breaks down the different tiers of support and talks about how the tiers all build on each other. The tiers are not specific places, nor do students belong to only a single tier. It is very flexible, and we hope that all students can access Tier 1 through a general education program, while also receiving Tier 2 and Tier 3 support as necessary. A number of case studies throughout the blueprints will help to build an understanding of what this may look like academically, behaviorally, and social-emotionally. In section 4, we discuss the systems drivers, which are the implementation areas that need to be present in order to create a really robust system. You'll learn about the leadership drivers and go through all the different planning stages associated with those, the competency drivers, which is all about really building capacity, and then the implementation drivers. And as you start going through those, you'll start thinking about what are the areas in our system where we may be facing barriers, and we may need to have a long-term strategic plan to address those barriers so we can build a strong MTSS system. Last, we unpack the focus areas of how a multi-tiered system integrates academic, behavioral, and social-emotional development so all students receive a holistic education that meets their needs. So looking at the visual, you'll now have a much better understanding of how all the different pieces of a system build together to support all students in Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 as necessary, academically, behaviorally, and social-emotionally. These are not 3 separate areas, but rather areas that are integrated and work together. And we, as a system, need to have shared responsibility for determining the barriers that may prevent that from happening. We have to determine the barriers that keep some learning environments as being too restrictive for some students, and then over time create a long-term theory of action and strategy to eliminate those barriers.